one. Hi folks, in our last session we talked about how to go ahead and get people into your store. Today I'd like to talk about training them. Training and conditioning your customers to spend more. And I'm going to say, why in the world would I want to go ahead and train and condition my customers? What exactly is training and conditioning? B.F. Skinner, the psychologist back from, I think he was born 1908 to 1990, he came up with this theory of operant conditioning. And he had these weird experiments where he would put these pigeons into these boxes and he'd give them two simple choices: to go ahead and peck on this little control, and the more that they got it towards pointing the direction that they wanted, the more rewards that they would get. And he was able to go ahead and train these pigeons that they would get in these control boxes and they'd have a picture of something there, and the picture would move, and the pigeon had to go ahead and peck on this control panel to get the picture back exactly where it was supposed to. Well, he went ahead and did something really sort of crazy. He went to the Navy and said, I have these guided missiles. And at that point, they didn't have computers that could do this, and so the Navy said, well, go ahead and show us. And so he went ahead and he had these missiles that he would launch, and they would track in on exactly where they're supposed to, and boom, they'd explode exactly where they're supposed to. Wow, this is a whole lot better than just dumping bombs out of a plane. How do you do this? So he went ahead and opened it up, and he had these pigeons that were in front of these control panels, and they would see the target, and by going ahead and adjusting the control panels, they would adjust this so that the target was exactly where it was supposed to, and it would stay in place, and they'd land everywhere. Well, the Navy thought this works, but there's no way that we're going to admit that we have birds guiding our $1-million missiles at this point. And so they cut off the process. But what was behind that was that when people are conditioned, when pigeons are conditioned by getting positive reinforcement, they will continue to do that action that gives them the positive behavior, that gives them the positive reward. Could your customers be trained just like these pigeons? Well, yes and no. Not quite the same way, but the principles still remain the same. Number one, when someone comes into your store, you want to build credibility. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have a Citizen Kane-like declaration of principles. This is what our store is all about, and this is what we want to do. You don't have to broadcast that, but it should be evident. So when someone comes into your store, they know, oh, this is what this store does to help the community. Target stores, for instance, have in front of their stores, they have this little thing that shows this is how much we've donated to this community in the last year. And so when people go in there, they realize every time I spend $1 at this store, I'm helping my community. Now, of course, you don't want to support any charities that don't have 100% approval. So you had to be sort of careful about that. Number two, you want to build rapport. Well, how do you build rapport? One of the ways to do this is to acknowledge the person's existence. So as they come into the store, you might have greeters at the doors welcoming them in. If you have a smaller store and you don't have the budget to have greeters at the stores, what you might do is just have the cash register people go ahead and welcome them. Welcome to the name of the store. Once they're inside the store, you want to have someone, preferably a salesperson, go ahead and greet them and acknowledge them and ask how they can be of help. I don't know if you've ever gone into a clothing store and you feel like people are just descending upon you. You want to go ahead and have this be low-key, and you want to have it be supportive, not negative. You don't want to have negative feelings about that people have about your salespeople. Instead, you want to let them know, if you need help, I'm right here. I'd be glad to go ahead and help show you anything. How can I be of assistance? If you're just looking, that's great. I'll go ahead and I'll help this person over here. But when you need me, just go ahead and let me know. I'll be right here if you have any questions. You want to have positive reinforcement. You want to go ahead and train your people to every time that they shop at your store, they want to do it again. Have you ever gone to a coffee shop and they pass you out a little punch card that every time that you get a cup of coffee, they punch that card, and after 5 visits or after 10 visits, you get a free cup of coffee? You go to a pizza store, every time that you make an order, after 10 visits, they give you a free slice or they give you a free pizza. You want to condition them to want to come back. Now, why do I say that? Some people say, oh, there's too much expense in that free pizza. Well, think about it. What is your cost to bring in a new customer? What is your cost to bring in someone that has been there again and again and again, and you've trained them to come back again and again and again? It's much less than to bring in that new customer, isn't it? Give them an incentive to come back, and they'll greatly appreciate it. You want to train them to spend more. Now, I was doing a little bit of consulting for this one restaurant, and they had all of their drinks back behind the counter, and a person could come in and they get the entree, and they weren't necessarily being asked if they'd like to go ahead and upgrade by getting a larger drink, by getting a specialty drink. They could go ahead and get the entree without being asked. Just by asking, would you like the large drink? Would you like the extra value drink? Would you like the specialty drink? Just by asking that question, they're able to go ahead and get a per head order up of another $1, $1.50, $2 sometimes, just by asking the question and having it there in front of them. Would you like the cookies with your drink? Would you like to make this a value meal to save even more money? When you give people the opportunity to make this a value meal, what they're actually doing is they're spending another $1, $1.50, and when they do that, your cost on that might have been 15 cents. Their cost on this was $1.50. Huge profit margin. It increases the per head. You want to train people to spend more each time. Maybe you go ahead and you show them our value meal or our value drink has all this in it for only another 15 cents. It's the greatest value that you're going to get. You're training them to spend more. You also want to reduce the risk. What do I mean by that? If someone comes in and they buy something, you want to have a return policy that lets them know that, hey, if they made a mistake, if it doesn't fit, they can bring it back, they'll get their money back. Why would you want to do that? You want them to buy it the first time, not say, well, let me go ahead and measure this and see if everything fits. You want them to go ahead and buy it, take it home. If it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, they can bring it back. No hassles, no problems. You want to make the return pleasant, which means that if they do return it, you want them to feel that it wasn't a huge hassle to go through this. Now, why do I say that? Some companies make the return policy so unpleasant that you say, oh, I give up. That's not your goal. You want them to, if they have to return something, make it so pleasant that, wow, that wasn't too bad. I'll go ahead and shop here again. If you make them think, oh, there's no way I'll ever come here again, you've lost. I remember one time I bought a car, and they gave me this was a freebie. They gave me a free oil change on a Saturday morning. So I thought, wow, that's great. It's free, not a problem. I went there on a Saturday morning. I had to wait 2 hours in order to get my free oil change. My 2 hours were of more value to me than that free oil change. They went ahead and were taking other customers ahead of me because they were paying money for this. And I said, I'm never coming back here again. What happened? They gave me something of value, but the way that they treated me, by making me wait and by putting other people in front of me for this thing that was supposed to guarantee my support and guarantee my business forever, did entirely the opposite. And I said, I'll never come back here again. It was something free. It was something that cost them money, but because of the way they did it, they lost all of my business from then on. If you have something that's negative to them, you want to explain the benefits. What's the example for this? Have you ever gone shopping at Aldi's? Aldi's is a great store, but if you want to get one of their shopping carts, you had to put a little quarter in order to free up a shopping cart. Well, that's a royal pain. However, what Aldi did was they have a sign out front that says, in order to make sure that we keep your costs low, we have instituted this system. You put a quarter in when you get it. When you return your shopping cart, you get your quarter back. But the reason for this is we want to increase your shopping pleasure. We want to keep your prices low. We want to make sure that we don't have any shopping carts out in the parking lot to ding up your car. And they turned a negative into a positive. So if you ever have any negatives, turn it into a positive by explaining the benefits to your customers, and they will probably go ahead and accept it. You want to reduce attrition and increase retention by handling any complaints or any problems. When someone has a complaint or have a problem, you want to let them know, I'm here. I'll go ahead and take care of the problem, and so we want to keep you happy. Now, what happens if you say service is our number one goal, and then you don't schedule enough people out on the floor to take care of the customers? Poof. They don't mean it. They're lying. They don't care for my business. I'm out of here. I'm never coming back here again. One time, I was shopping at this major discount store, and they had all these cashier lines that were open. And I had waited in this one cashier line. It was close to Christmas, but I waited there for 15 minutes. And the clerk behind the counter said, I'm out of here. I'm off. I'm leaving. And she went ahead and closed up her register and left. What were we supposed to do? Well, we had to go to another line and wait. And all that time that we had invested in waiting for them, guess what? I said, I'm never coming back here again. Remove the negatives. If you're giving them huge, great service, make sure that you're giving them great service, and don't just lie about it. Because if someone feels that you said you give them great service, they were treated badly, poof, they're out of there. As the manager, as the owner, you want to be available to your customers and be out there so that you can handle any problems. Because if you're always in the back taking care of the books, you're not doing the most important thing. If the books are the most important thing to you, you might not be in the right business. Maybe you should be a bookkeeper. If you're in a service business, if you're in a retail business, if you want to tell people that you have great service, be available to them. Otherwise, you've lost credibility and you're lying to them. And finally, thank your customers for shopping with you. I was working with this one company, and they always said, we don't consider you to be a customer. We consider you to be part of our family. We thank you for your support, and we want to do everything in our power to give you world-class service and give you benefits so far above everybody else that you'll never consider going anywhere else. And if we don't, let me know, and we'll do what we can to make it right for you. Is that fair? What happened was we had huge loyalty, and people viewed us as they were part of our family, and they wanted to come back to us. You don't want anyone to ever say, phew, why should I shop here again? You want them to go ahead and continue to come back because you want them to be regulars. Because a person that shops regularly with you and spends a little bit more each time greatly increases your profits and greatly increases the value of your business if you ever want to sell it down the road.